Hello and welcome back to another part of What If Luffy Was Never Born. Today, well, let's just take a look back at what happened last week. Last week we actually finished off, I guess, one of the bigger arcs that we did so far, which was the Shadow Cake arc, where the Strawhat Pirates invaded or visited Whole Cake Island and had their different battles against the people, where we finished off with getting Katakuri's shadow and are now going further in the direction of Wano. But as we all know, after the Whole Cake Island arc, there was something else that happened before we actually entered Wano. It was the Reverie. So now we are on our way to the Reverie. I guess all the different kingdoms are going there, and we talked about who is going there, and we know what is going on with Marijois. But I don't have much to say here. We all remember how the Reverie was going, and I guess it's pretty much the same as in canon. We see Kuma getting like more destroyed or slaved as he's fully turned into a cyborg. Didn't protect like a ship for the Straw Hats this time, but he still... I don't know why he accepted the trade offer from Vegapunk to turn himself into like this slave cyborg for the government, but here we are, and this is also the case why Bonnie from the Worst Generation obviously invades the Marijois, where also Sabo and the other commanders of the Revolutionary Army are. All these things happen the same as in the canon version, so I don't need to talk about them. But now the one thing I can tell you is that they might talk a bit about Moria or something, because I mean, he is doing a lot of work here. He fought against one of the Yonko emperors there, and he did a lot of things, and he fought against Doflamingo, and he's a warlord. He has an alliance with Law, and they defeated Doflamingo warlord. He fought right now on Whole Cake Island and did all these things. So there's a lot going on there, but I guess that's about it for this video. I mean, we're done here. Like, that's Marijois, that's Reverie. So I guess thank you for watching, stay hot, and see you next time. No. I mean, you probably saw the length of the video, but this is it's so stupid. Like, there's not much to talk about the Marijois and Reverie events, but I can talk about stuff that I didn't explain to you yet. Like, for example, when I gave the people bounties after Dressrosa, I said that there are hidden puns or like meanings in the bounties, but I didn't explain further. I mean, one of them was pretty obvious, but all the others are a bit more hidden, and you would need to think a bit more about it to actually find like their actual meaning. So let's take a look at all these different things that I didn't yet reveal. So to get at least, let's call it an SBS if you want to get a bit of a deeper look into the mind of the author of this story. First of all, let's take a look at the bounties. Like Oda, I wanted to play around with some of the bounties, have like hidden meanings or things like that, but I have compared to Oda obviously, I have a very limited knowledge of Japanese. So what I did, it might even be wrong, but as far as I know, these things make sense and are pretty fitting for the characters that I put on. So now let's take a look at what was Moria's hidden bounty meaning after Dressrosa. First of all, Moria's bounty was 510,690,000 berries. But there is already the first thing. I tried to keep it in the same level as the bounties that the Straw Hats get around that area. So Luffy at this point got a bounty of 500 million, I think. So I took that bounty and balanced it around there and made a few changes. Like, the numbers that are important here, 5 is not important because that's something I took from Luffy, because the 500 million is from Luffy. But the next part there, basically the 10 and the 6 and 9 are the part that I want to talk about here. It's 10 and 6, 9 can be read as Jigoku. So for anyone who doesn't know too much about Japanese, Jigoku is basically the Japanese word for hell, which is fitting for Moria as he somehow has this connection to the afterlife. Like, he has all these zombies, and the shadows can give extra life to the zombies. And this is basically like, for some people it would be hell if their their body just continues on living and can never really rest. So he's like, his connection to hell with Maria is pretty prominent, or like in an entire thriller arc, the concept of horror and hell and scary things is just there. That's why Maria has this sort of bounty. And now we come to our Dark Messiah, the best character in the whole story of One Piece now, because God Usopp doesn't exist. Absalom. Absalom, well, I guess I went with his bounty more on the funnier side. Like, compared to being literal hell, his bounty was 260,444,000 berries. And at first, like I said, I want to keep it on a similar level to the characters which they are basically the counterpart to. Which means the 200 million that he had as a base came from that being Usopp's bounty. So that's where 200 million came from. But then I combined some other stuff and modified it to my needs. Like, for example, the 26. The 26 in the first part, or the 2-6 in the first part, is something relevant in Japan basically every single month. On the 26th of every month, now you get some Japan lore as well on my videos, the public baths in Japan have reduced entry fees, as the 26 or the 2 and 6 can be read as furo, which translates to bath. And we all know how that is connected to Absalom, as he's like the massive pervert. He infiltrated the bath when Nami was showering, and that's basically every dream. It also was Sanji's dream of using the invisibility fruit or clear fruit, I think, to invade like some bath to see the women bathing or something. And it's just way too fitting for me to not use it. But now the second part. The second Easter egg is the 444. And if you want to look at it like in Japanese, you can see that 4 is also the number of death, which can be read as shi. And it's basically shi, which would mean death, which can also be like connected to Absalom having this connection to death, as he changed all of his body, which shouldn't be humanly possible, or he controls the zombies as one of their commanders, their generals. But the other thing that can be read as 444 or 444 is it's basically just the chapter in which Absalom first appeared in the actual One Piece manga. In chapter 444, we first saw Absalom, and that's pretty much it. But now we come to our third person from the Dressrosa squad, and that's Brook, the Demon King Brook. Brook, well, he was a special case here, because obviously he got a bounty increase in the actual story as well. The actual story, he always had his 33 million bounty, and I don't know if there's a hidden meaning for that, I didn't search it up. And that increased by 50 million to 83 million. But as we all know, our version of Brook is quite a bit stronger, and so I had to increase that bounty. So I decided to increase it to 100,666,000. The 100 doesn't have any meaning, and that was what I said when it was the most obvious, because the 666 is also known as the number of the beast, and more commonly people just say it's the number of Satan, and Brook pretty much has the perfect image for Satan. You might, he's Demon King Brook, so people relate him to demons and the devil and all these things. If I remember correctly, his time skip stuff was also that he got summoned to a group of Satanists or something, so I guess you could also just call him Satan himself, Devil Incarnate himself. But now that's the last bounty for Dressrosa that we now will look at. Ryuma. Ryuma is a weird case here, because I don't know how the Marines would react to this. They would know that he doesn't look normal, like a normal human. They might think that he's a zombie, like knowing Moria's powers, but because he's acting as his own crew guy, he will get his own bounty. This is going to be his first bounty, or I guess at least his first bounty after getting turned into a zombie, because we don't know if the actual Ryuma had a bounty when he was still alive. So this is zombie Ryuma's first bounty, and it will be 60,610,000 berry. You might think that's quite low at this stage, at this part of the story, thinking about Moria being over 500 million or other people being over 200, 300 million. So his thing is basically also an homage to another character that is pretty much not a copy of him, but it can be said that the similarities and all of the different parallels between the two characters are just way too common to see that I couldn't make this. The 60 million in the part of Ryuma's bounty is the same as Zoro's first bounty that he got after, I think it was after Whiskey Peak or Alabasta. Somewhere around that mark, Zoro got his first bounty of 60 million berry. And that's what I took for the base of Ryuma's first bounty. But then there was also the 610,000. So 6 and 10 can be read as Ro-10. And if you just pronounce it properly, you can read it as rotten, which is just a play on Ryuma being an old corpse that basically is already rotting away. He probably doesn't smell that good either. And that's basically just the case here, playing a pun on him being a corpse and having him like the Roten in his bounty. So that's why he has that stuff. But now let's come to another thing happening in the Reverie arc besides the actual Reverie. We saw the Straw Hats get new bounties, and this is the same for our Thriller Bar crew. So even though I just explained to you all of these bounties, they are now getting new bounties. But to not bore you with even more number explanations, I will go to another part first before we resume with a bit more talk about the bounties. First we're going to look at Moriya's sword that I revealed to you last week. Makaze, the Ryowazamono, and Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the Owazamono. Both swords are known for a dark past, and both of them, but not both of them. Both are known for a dark past, but one of them is even known for having a curse or something. The blade Makaze can also be translated literally to evil wind, or if you want to say evil wind blade or something. And Makaze was crafted on an island that once existed in the New World. This is entirely fan-made from me because no blades such as this exist in One Piece, but they pretty much just could exist like there. So as you see, I said the island once existed, because the island is not around there anymore. It got destroyed by tornadoes, hurricanes, storms, and what other wind-related disaster I am forgetting right now. The winds only stopped after the people of the island gave away Makaze to a merchant, who, like the merchant, didn't know the sword was supposed to be cursed or these things. So the island was already uninhabitable at this moment. So all the peoples, they got rid of the sword and could live happily ever after like going to another island. But the island that they were on basically got destroyed by the wind phenomenon and all of these different things. So over the years, Makaze fell into many different hands. It was once with some pirates, with some marines, maybe some revolutionaries at some point of the time. But all of them couldn't really use the sword and all ended up dying in battle. That was until one pirate ended up with the sword in the Florian Triangle. And in that Florian Triangle, we all know how the people end there. He basically stopped on a Thriller Bark where he got either killed or basically just turned into a zombie by Moriya. And Moriya picked up Makaze being ready to use the sword. I don't think Moriya is like a sword nerd knowing what the sword past or other things is, but he knows that it's a pretty good sword and that's why he picked it up and used it as his first sword. So I will only say that the evil wind is bound to blow at least one more time soon enough. And how that's going to happen, we will see more. So that's Moriya's first weapon, but now we can get to the second, or at first let me tell you something. This is only the first part of the sword story, and I'm not going to say everything about the swords, because technically speaking, with all the stuff that I have for the lore of at least of just these two swords, I could basically make a video just about these two swords. So I'm keeping it a bit short, not to make it overly lengthy. The second sword is a Great Greatsword. It's basically the same grade as Enma, so the second highest grade sword possible. Not the supreme grade, but it's a great grade. Like the Owazamono. The Owazamono Kusanagi no Tsurugi, which pretty much can be translated to grass cutter or grass cutting sword. So this blade's history goes back all the way to the ancient times. But only small parts of the unique story remain, and basically how it landed in Moriya's hand is completely unknown. Most of these things are just myths at this point, but there's a lot going around this Kusanagi no Tsurugi, or Kusanagi for short. The Kusanagi is said to be used by a warrior who was trying to fight against a corrupt samurai, but the battle didn't entirely go its way, like his way, the warriors, so he needed to escape from different planes, and at one point the unnamed warrior had used the sword to escape from an open field where flames were surrounding him in every area. So he couldn't go from everywhere and everything looked like burning around him. And without the sword he would probably have died. But he used the sword to redirect the flames and basically make way for everything. So he used the sword to escape at least once from a burning place. And who knows if that will be relevant in the future. I don't know what a burning place might be right now, so yeah, but this sword, the people still talk about the Kusanagi on Wano, but it's mostly only a myth. Because I said it was used by a warrior trying to fight against a corrupt samurai, so it was probably going around in Wano somewhere, and the people just use it as a myth. So this sword is a myth, and Kusanagi is also one of the things Orochi is quite scared of. Why that is, you might need to dig for that yourself a bit deeper, or I will explain it to you in the future. I always need to make some like secrets or hidden things for me to at least have something to do in the future. But now that's pretty much it from this point. This is what I can talk about the swords at this point. So now we will return back to Bounties, I guess. With all of the swords lore, at least some of the sword lore gone now, we can look at Moriya's new bounty. Moriya, well, you know that he's quite powerful, and with all that, his bounty is now on the same level as some of the strongest fighters in the world. That's why his bounty is now 1,641,056,000 berry. So with Moriya growing stronger and stronger, his bounty also needs to increase, and all the smaller pirates, weaker pirates, they will never underestimate such a great pirate, which basically leads us to the first part of his new bounty. The 164 can be read as Hitomushi. So it basically translates to human insect, which is just the meaning on Moriya, how he now looks down. He's also cocky. We all know that Moriya is cocky. Oh, he's not cocky when he fights against someone like Katakuri or Kaido in the future, or someone other who's pretty strong. But if he was fighting against someone weaker, he for sure would get cocky, and that might be his downfall in the future. But the 164, the human insect, the Hitomushi, really just a play on him looking down on everyone weaker, thinking that they're just insects against his newfound power, and he's just too powerful for everyone under him right now. And the last part of his bounty is still the same, with the Jigoku, which means hell. I don't need to explain the same things over and over again, so we just skip over the second part. Brook's bounty. Obviously, not everybody who was at Dressrosa was also at Whole Cake Island, so there's only an increase for the people who were at Whole Cake right now, which means that Brook's bounty increased to 274,666,000 berry. The 666 is the same, and we're not going to talk about that much longer, but the 274 is a new addition, and it can be read as Ha-na-shi, which is connected to a popular theory that I enjoy myself as well. I mean, there are two similar theories around that part. Like, for example, the first one is that Brook is the narrator of the story, because Hanashi means story. And the theory that Brook is the narrator of One Piece is a common theory. There's the theory that Brook or Usopp are like the narrators of One Piece, and because they outlived everybody or something, they just now tell a story of Pirate King, the Joy Boy, sailing around the seas and looking for the One Piece. But if that's not the case, you can also say that it's just like connected to Brook having one of the longest stories in One Piece. From his time with the Rubbery Pirates, his time with Laboon, then all the years he spent like being a soul looking for his body on the floating triangle where he turned into a skeleton, and now his time when he joined up with the Thriller Bark. This man has so many stories to tell, and we always forget how old he is and how many things he knows. Like, he said that Roger was once a rookie in his era. So if he looks at Roger like a rookie, did he meet anyone else? Does he know rocks? We don't know so many things about Brook's past, like the actual time he spent with the Rubbery Pirates. We don't know a lot about that part of his life, and I don't think we will ever learn it, but I think it's quite interesting to think about. But now we come to the last bounty and the last part of this video. she hasn't been in the focus of everything, in the spotlight for quite some time. She was still with Mihawk when everything at Dressrosa happened, and she never really did a lot of things when everybody was still like in the Warlord scene with Moria on the thriller bark. But now she was there and she fought on Whole Cake Island. But with all that said, Perona's first bounty, and also the reason why every thriller bark commander now has a bounty, her first bounty is 35 million berry. It might be low, but 35 makes so much sense for her, or 35, because Perona is already known as Ghost Princess because of all her like acting as a princess of the thriller bark and her being like the ghost lady. So 35 or 35 makes a lot of sense because it can be read as Miko. And Miko, I don't know if you know about these things. It's also commonly known if you're not like a VTuber fan, because Sakura Miko, who is a member of Hololive, calls her fans Miko P or 35P, which basically just is a name for that, and you might have heard it because of all of these things. But Miko is just the Japanese name for shrine maiden or priestess, which would be a very fitting name for Perona, as she pretty much is like she is already the ghost princess, and now she's just the priestess or the shrine maiden of Thriller Bark, of the demon king Brook, of the demon lord Moria, or whatever his epithet might be in the future. And there's so many things, and we might see how high their bounties will increase after Wano. But Wano is still a long way for us because it's not even finished in the actual story yet. But now we are done with these parts. We're done with every information that I didn't tell you yet, but now we have new information that I don't want to tell you for some time. But the lore about the source is a matter for another time. So until next week, we're going to wait to see what is going to happen next. I guess we're going to enter Wano for at least a bit next week. So I would say, I hope all of you are going to have a nice week, and we will see each other again in the next video. Stay hot, stay fresh, stay safe, and stay cultured. This has been Pyro, so I hope we will see each other again next time. Bye!